Okay. Calling the meeting to order at 9:03. We always begin with our land acknowledgement. The municipality of Tweed recognizes that a work takes place on traditional Indigenous territories, including the Huron-Wendat, Anishinaabe, and Haudenosaunee peoples. We recognize and respect the history, languages, and cultures of the First Nations, Métis, Inuit, and all Indigenous peoples whose presence continues to enrich our communities. Miigwech. Please join us now in the singing of O Canada. Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the approval of today's regular agenda? Thank you very much, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you very much, Councillor Valley-Cat. Any changes or comments on the agenda? Seeing none, be it resolved that the agenda for the April 8th, 2024 regular council meeting be approved as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Are there any disclosures of pecuniary interest? Seeing none. Could I have a mover and a seconder for the adoption of two sets of minutes? Minutes from March 25th regular council meeting and March 26th special council meeting. Mover, thank you, Councillor Valley-Cat. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any comments on said minutes? Seeing none, be it resolved that the minutes of the March 25th, 2025 regular council meeting and the March 26th, 2025 special council meeting be adopted as presented. All in favor? Thank you. We will be having a closed meeting. Council will be holding a closed meeting during the regular council meeting under Section 2392 of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 C25 as amended to consider the following matters. B, personal matters about an identified individual, including municipal or local board employees. E, litigation or potential litigation, including matters before administration tribunals affecting the municipality of local board. F, advice that is subject to solicitor-client privilege, including communications necessary for that purpose. K, a position, plan, procedure, criteria to instruction to be applied to any negotiations carried on or to be carried on by or on behalf of the municipality or local board. 2001 C25 S2392 2017 C10 Schedule 1 S26 and pursuant to Section 239 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 SO 2001 C25 as amended for education or training. Okay, I need a mover and a seconder for this particular suspension of the rules. Council will go into a closed meeting for the purposes of education and training. So as not to delay the business of the meeting, the closed meeting will be moved to the end of the regular council meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Thank you, Councillor Valley-Cat. Any objection? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council agree to suspend the rules to move the closed meeting to take place immediately after the committee board's minutes in accordance with Section 17th of Procedural Bylaw number 2023-13. All in favor? Thank you. Mayor's remarks. Well, another major weather event has once again taken toll on our municipality. Council extends heartfelt thanks to our dedicated public works team, our volunteer firefighters, our administrative staff, and our emergency preparedness manager for their unwavering commitment to keeping residents safe during this crisis. We also express sincere appreciation to Hydro One and their crews for working tirelessly to restore power to our community. The ice storm had a significant impact, leaving many residents without powers for 6 days or more. Rural communities are particularly vulnerable during events like these. To ensure everyone is better prepared for future emergencies, we will be reissuing our emergency preparedness information sheet in the upcoming municipal newsletter. And we've asked that it be given a higher profile on our homepage and posted on our Facebook page. Congratulations to MPP Rick Brisey on being reappointed as the Parliamentary Assistant for the Minister of Transportation, and for your new role as Parliamentary Assistant to the Minister of Seniors and Accessibility. On March 26, we held the first round of our CAO interviews. The following day, I attended Hastings County Council, followed by a meeting with the Hastings Local Housing Corporation. On March 31st, I spoke with Ellen Neal on CBC's All in a Day about the ice storm's impact on our community. On April 2nd, we raised a flag in recognition of World Autism Day. The next day, we conducted our second round of CAO interviews, followed by a committee of the whole meeting, which focused entirely on our asset management plan. I also participated in a follow-up interview with CBC to provide an update on the storm recovery. That evening, I attended both the Kiwanis executive and club meetings. On April 4th, I met via Zoom with Krista Lowry, president of Roma, and Petra Wolfbass from AMO to discuss my concerns regarding the underrepresentation of small rural municipalities. The conversation evolved into a broader discussion of the unique challenges facing small rural Ontario, especially the municipality of Tweed. Frankly, people are shocked when they hear the full extent of what we are going through. Over the weekend, I compiled data they requested so our issues can be escalated to the next level. On April 7th, I attended a meet and greet with Liberal candidate Tracy Sweeney Shinnick. Later that day, I called an emergency meeting with Aqua, Public Works Manager Ryan Reed, CAO Pender, and our Emergency Preparedness Coordinator Kate Lassard for an update and action plan regarding the failure of the Louisa pumping station. Ryan will be providing a full report on the issue and corrective measures taken. MPP Brisey reached out several times during the storm to check on how we were coping. When he asked if there was any way he could help, I made it clear. Get me a generator for each of our hamlets. I reminded him that our application for these generators was denied last year under the Emergency Preparedness Fund. I emphasized how critical it is for each hamlet to have backup power so we can open warming and cooling centers, kitchens, and water stations during emergencies. Our municipality spans over 950 square kilometers. Not everyone can get to the village of Tweed in a time of crisis. While it's too late for this storm, it won't be for the next. These events are no longer rare. In fact, between the Derecho in May 2022, an EF2 tornado in that July, 2 EF0 tornadoes in 2023, and now this 2025 ice storm, they're becoming all too common. MPP Brisey has committed to seeing what he can do. As noted, our committee of the whole meeting focused on our asset management plan. Thank you, CAO Pender, for walking us through the process and outlining some of the milestones on what is sure to be a very difficult journey. The province now requires that we submit a funding plan by July 1st that demonstrates how we intend to address our infrastructure obligations. These numbers have continued to grow over the last 4 years, from 11.5 million to 13.1 to 13.3, and now 13.5 million annually for the next 15 to 20 years. The lingering impacts of inflation and impending tariffs could take this number even higher. We've decided to take a 10-year approach to this massive challenge. That means carefully reviewing every infrastructure project on the horizon. What will be repaired, replaced, sold, or decommissioned, and examining which services may need to be adjusted, enhanced, or possibly eliminated. These are difficult decisions, and they will not be easy to accept. But let's be honest. With 2025 property tax revenues at 6.3 million, how can we possibly raise an additional 13.5 million per year? That would total 135 million over a decade, an unimaginable burden. Still, the provincial government insists on a plan, even though we received zero infrastructure funding from either level of government in 2023, 2024, and so far in 2025. our 2025 application to rehabilitate Flinton Road and repair 3 bridges that can no longer support emergency vehicles was rejected. It appears we are being left to face this all alone. As part of this difficult process, we'll be reaching out to you. A survey will be distributed to gather your feedback and what matters most to you. The results will be discussed at a public town hall, and the final outcomes will be presented to MPP Brise and our new federal MP. I'm not sure if you've heard, but as an example, the municipality of Center Hastings has decided to close their pool. Buckle up, this is going to be a bumpy ride. Council thanks you for your community spirit, your resilience, your commitment to making a difference, and your unwavering belief that the municipality of Tweed is the best in Hastings County. Thank you. Okay, we're going to have a public meeting now. Let's get this other sheet here. Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder to table this public meeting zoning amendment for ZA 5/25? The applicant is Teresa McCann. The location is 2571 Rapids Road, part of Lot 4, Concession 13. Purpose. The purpose and effect of the proposed zoning bylaw amendment is to change the zoning of a 9.8 acre severed lot and a 6.4 acre retained lot from the special rural residential 8 RR-8 zone to the rural residential RR zone. The rezoning of the severed and retained lots to RR is a condition of severance file B150/23 and will provide for the appropriate zoning for the size and proposed use of the new parcels. Could I have a mover and a seconder to get that on the table, please? Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Is there, doesn't appear that there is anyone here in this room, neither a proponent or someone against to speak. Is there anybody out there? Do you know, Lucas? No. Nobody out there? Are there any comments, questions, or concerns from council? Seeing none. Be it resolved that council authorize staff to bring forward amending bylaw at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Delegations and petitions. I'm going to welcome we're going to have an overview on the update on the community risk assessment. I'm going to ask Derek, could you introduce our guest who's been here before and talk about the project and then turn it over to.
Yes, we have Grace McDowell with us today. She's from Lumex Group and has went through our whole community risk assessment. She worked tirelessly on getting it, put a lot of time into it, a lot of effort, get a lot of information between her and I and some others in our department got her information. We were working on improving our systems. We've learned a lot from doing the project and stuff that we need to look forward to and work hard on. And we are working at going ahead with some of the stuff that Grace has pointed out, and she will point out to you in the presentation. But we'll bring Grace to the podium. Thank you for coming today.
Thank you, Grace. Is your microphone on there? There you go. Thank you, and welcome, Grace.
Thank you. Good morning, Mayor and Council and staff. And thank you for the introduction, Chief. I appreciate it. Today, I would just like to go over sort of the findings from the community risk assessment. The community risk assessment, for all intents and purposes, was completed back in 2024, but this has been sort of the first opportunity. We went back and forth a little bit on tweaking it, and some of that, as Chief Little said, was because the department was really eager to implement all of the risk treatment plans, everything that they could do immediately. So they certainly took the findings and the comments to heart. And as they were doing some of the things that we recommended, we had to go back in and kind of update and keep it moving. And I expect that will continue to happen. So just to reiterate some of the information, because I know it was a while ago when I was here last, a community risk assessment is required by the province, and it's required to be completed every 5 years. It's required to be reviewed annually and updated accordingly. The community risk assessment has 9 mandatory profiles that we must examine. And keep in mind, we are examining all of these profiles and all of the risks strictly from a fire department perspective. I have to say, I came up the back way today and along the Marlbank Road, etc. And I certainly saw the flooding and thought, wow, this is a significant event that's happening here and happening, I gather, almost annually now. But we have to assess what the fire department's role is in that flooding and how it affects, how the community is affected through the fire department. So that's because I was thinking, oh my, maybe this should have scored higher. You see it. Anyway, the profiles that we did examine were the geographic profile. So the geographics of the municipality of Tweed, the building stock profile, and we used MPAC data and data from Canada Census for that. Your critical infrastructure profile, your demographics, again, so we use Stats Canada for a lot of that information. Your hazards profiles, so the hazards that already exist within the community. The public safety response entities profile, so that will be agencies that can be called upon to assist. Your community services profile, so perhaps things like the Kiwanis Club, the Lions Club, different groups within the community that could assist. Your economic profile, and your past loss and event history profile. So the way we began the process was to have a startup meeting. And I came before council as well to introduce the process for the community risk assessment. And then we began stakeholder engagement. So we engaged with the fire chief primarily and his staff, and had a tour of the area. And then we started to collect all the data that we were going to analyze. And then we finally put that data into the community risk report. So the key findings, and if you've read it, there's an awful lot in the document. It's well over 100 pages. So I will give you the highlights this morning. So we're looking at risk, and we're trying to determine risk scores. We use an OFM Ontario Fire Marshal's Office evaluation criteria to determine the likelihood of events. And then we use the same criteria to determine the consequence level of those events. And then when we put those together, it gives us a risk score. So risks are scored from very low to very high and extreme, and we assign a number to them. And we do that partly because a risk can be high, but how high is it? Where in the high risk category is the hierarchy? Where does it fall? So we do assign a number. So in order of risks that we examined, the first risk in the municipality of Tweed was fire and explosion in industrial occupancy. There has been one fire in an industrial occupancy, so it scored high. The dollar loss was not great. That was balanced against the fact that there had not been consistent inspections done in industrial occupancies. And again, I would say that that is something that the fire department looked at very carefully and has already begun to rectify. Highway and road emergencies, I'm sure that's no surprise. An awful lot of truck traffic goes through the municipality. It scored high at 102. Fire in the downtown core scored high at 95. You have an older downtown core with mixed occupancies. Again, that score was primarily because there was inconsistency in the inspections. And I want to just couch that by saying, during COVID, inspections just didn't happen. And they didn't happen in the municipality of Tweed, and they didn't happen in municipalities all over the province. It was very difficult to get that process up and started again. But again, Tweed Fire has made a real effort to do that. The aging infrastructure in the downtown core makes it a risk, as well as the fact that there's mixed use. So you have commercial and residential together. So that's why that score was 95. Those are the high. Moderate risks were fire in vulnerable occupancies. There was one fire in the 5 years that we examined. The dollar loss wasn't very high. This fire, I believe, occurred in 2019. And, since the Fixing Long-Term Care Act has come in and the fire marshal has legislated certain things like annual inspections of vulnerable occupancies, sprinklering of most vulnerable occupancies, and the fact that the fire department is in once a year to conduct fire drills is really mitigating those risks in a big way. So I expect that the next time we look at that, this will not score as high. Localized flooding came in next, and I think that's pretty self-explanatory. And residential occupancies came in the moderate category at 78. Certainly, the majority of fires within this municipality is in the residential sector. And that again plays right across the province. Residential fires are still occurring. And again, going back to providing inspections where inspections are warranted, mixed occupancies, any high density residential, having regular inspections, and public education. Public education is so important to help to mitigate fires in residential occupancies. And certainly having an active smoke alarm program, and the chief and I have had many discussions about having a smoke alarm policy, setting targets, tracking your data, where did we do, which community were we in, how many homes did we get into, how many smoke alarms, carbon monoxide alarms did we replace, did we replace a battery, did we replace the device? So tracking all of that information to provide a better outlook of how the residential fires are being mitigated. Wildland fire, again, a moderate risk. It certainly does occur. So that scored 76. Fire in assembly occupancy scored a 70. Again, it's based on, are those occupancies, they may not have experienced a fire in the 5 years we looked at, but is there a regular inspection program? So you're looking at libraries, things like that are assembly occupancies. Fire in commercial occupancies. So this, critical infrastructure failure, and you've just been through that. It scored a 70, again, because we're looking at it from a fire department perspective, but certainly just having come through the ice storm, you understand how your critical infrastructure is affected, and what happens when it fails, and how your residents are affected. Fire in commercial occupancy scored low, as well as incidents in remote areas. And we did look, lastly, but not leastly, at fire in agricultural occupancies. And although there have been some fires in agricultural buildings, the risk to the community, so the loss to the individual, it can be great and the consequences can be great, but the loss to the community as a whole doesn't score quite in the same way. And that's the way the provincial matrix is designed. So for each risk that we scored, we then wrote a risk treatment plan. And risk treatment plans, you're talking, can we avoid or eliminate the risk? Sometimes, but not very often. Can we mitigate the risk? How are we going to reduce the likelihood of this risk? So we look at that: accept the risk, take no action, transfer the risk. So an example of this will be transferring the risk to the MTO or to the Ministry of Natural Resources, where there's a way that they in fact are responsible for some of that risk. And then share, which is a more likely, where you're sharing that risk, whether it's with the county or with another organization. So I've talked about all the risks. I'm not going to go through the top 5 again. Sorry. I did want to talk a little bit about what the next steps are. So the next steps are to review and update your community risk assessment annually, develop a process for collecting and maintaining data. One of the things that is now a requirement in a community risk assessment is a way to track lightweight construction. And I can say this with some confidence. No one has been tracking lightweight construction in the past, but it is important going forward. There is a fire marshal's directive, and we need to start tracking that. From what I have seen, probably the most efficient way to track it is through the building permit process. So it's difficult to go back, although we can likely look at residential built in the last 10 years, maybe even 15 years, and recognize that there are some lightweight construction components being used. So roof and floor trusses being probably the most common. And the reason it's important to track this is because those components behave differently in fire than other conventional construction. So if the fire department can be aware of that, if they can know before they go into a building, it contains lightweight construction, then it certainly enhances, it changes how they may choose to fight the fire, and it certainly enhances safety for the firefighters. So it is something that we need to look at going forward. And then the next.
If I may too, I guess that would also apply to solar roof installations and stuff that you would need to know that and know where the breakers are and outside and okay.
All of that.
All that,
Yes,
okay.
absolutely, Mayor. And the next thing I would suggest for the municipality is to start to develop a fire master plan now. So you have your community risk assessment that should segue into a fire master plan. And what that does is really give you the road work or a roadmap forward for the next 5 to 10 years. So it identifies and evaluates your current and anticipated fire protection needs. It assesses all the services that the department currently offers. It looks at everything from asset management to health and safety to training to the actual functionality of the fire hall. It's a very in-depth report. They can through GIS mapping now, they can look at where the fires actually are occurring, where the fire station is located, where the firefighters live, how long it takes them to get to the fire hall. So there's an awful lot of information that comes out of a report like that that can assist in planning going forward. And that's all I have.
Well, thank you very much.
Thank you.
I do have another question. We were talking about this master fire plan. Like, is that something that Derek creates? Is that a consultant that we hire to do it? What are the average costs for something like that?
I am not sure what the average costs are. It certainly is, in my experience, usually a third party that will, and I'm sure that Chief Little could actually put one together. The benefit of having a third party is you have a completely unbiased opinion of how things are functioning currently. And in my experience, usually several recommendations are made for, you could go this way. Recruitment and retention is also a big part of the fire master plan process. And I see a lot of creative ideas coming forward out of that for departments who are not ready or do not wish to change their model from, volunteer composite departments. So how do we recruit and how do we retain firefighters? So there's an awful lot of information about that in the fire master plan. So usually an RFP is put out by the municipality and then bids are come in, and it's an extensive process. It usually takes about 3 to 4 months to complete a fire master plan. But again, it gives a roadmap for, the next 5 or the next 10 years. And certainly there's growth in this municipality, so it's probably the ideal time. Your community risk assessment is still current, so it, as I say, to kind of take those risks and it segues into the fire master plan document.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions of council? Is there anything that you wanted to say, Derek? Or?
No, just like to thank Grace for all the hard work going through this here. We did learn there's a lot in like in the next steps and stuff. We did learn a lot, the stuff that we've been doing. Like she said, from COVID, like you look back as it only goes to 24, so you got 5 years previous to that. So there was a lot there that we were doing previous to COVID. We're back into doing them again. With the like she was talking about the fire master plan leading into that, something that we should look at the next couple of years of look at bringing forward, because we do have, like she said, we have our CRA, and that kind of leans into, well, that does it kind of assists the whole thing, and then it gives us kind of where our fire department's at, kind of thing, with like she said, with staffing and equipment and stuff, with new infrastructure and stuff coming in, and new homes coming into the area. That kind of gives you an idea what we require, and training the whole 9 yards, and it's a great document to assist us going forward, and something we should probably really look into in the next few years of proceeding through doing something with that. I know a lot of the fire departments right now, that's the first thing actually, we were at our coordinators meeting last week, and first thing they asked is, do you just have a fire master plan yet? Because that's one of the things, because that's how they follow through the OFM is following what stage, what stage our community is in with the fire master plan. So definitely something looking down the road, we need to start looking at that for the next few years of budgets and stuff to do that or whatever. So
Kelly, can you make a point of making sure that we capture that, another project that we need to undertake?
Mhm.
Any further questions, comments? Yes, Councilor Fleetwood.
Yeah, your worship, over the years, part of my training, we had a training session where people, industries and farms would have a canister if they were in a rural area attached to their mailbox post with all the locations of dangerous goods, chemicals, all this kind of thing. So when the ERT showed up, they grabbed the canister. I don't know if we can get that underway here. Like, it'd be quite a task. But it identified each hazard on the property.
Yep.
It'd be quite a task to do that, but education is the main thing, and I sure appreciate the education process that we have here.
through the mayor to Councillor Fleer. So yeah, that's definitely something, one of the things, some of the departments we've been talking at some of our meetings and stuff with the lightweight construction stuff, there's some that are coming out with stickers to put on the front of their mailboxes on the house so they know lightweight construction. We have had some stuff for medical stuff that people put the little jar in their fridge type, that kind of thing. But yeah, for on the farm and stuff, that would be something that we could first maybe start implementing, something that would have possible more stuff like that on the hydro pole out front, you know what I mean, kind of thing that has that has some of the thing that same thing with the tractor trailer, like, you know, what's on your load basically, but that's what's your fire load in the facility, whatever. But that's something we could definitely work on. I know it's a big project, but it's definitely something that we can definitely look into for sure.
And your worship, the chief also mentioned a color code system too. That would be an excellent opportunity for risk management as well, I think.
Any other questions? Thank you very much, Grace. We appreciate all the work that you've done to work with our fire chief and our firefighters, and we'll move forward as you have suggested. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Okay, moving on to departmental reports, could I have a mover and a seconder to table the adoption of a pay equity plan for 2025, please? A mover and a seconder. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. I'm going to, I mean, it was very self-explanatory, but I'll turn it over to you if you wanted to make any comments.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a couple of points for council's information. The pay equity plan was commissioned by the previous CAO in December of last year. The budget amounts are in the report. There are two parts to this. This is the pay equity. This is the mandatory part under the Pay Equity Act. So this revises our 2015 plan. The consultant has determined that there are no requirements for pay adjustments to meet pay equity. And just a reminder, pay equity is equal pay for work of equal value, not equal pay for equal work. So it takes a look at 10 different characteristics of the job and compares those across the organization such that females are paid the same value as males within the organization. So the good news is that has been completed. There are some recommendations as well with regards to maintenance, and we'll be going through those over the next couple of years. We are required to maintain pay equity as well. So this plan will be posted for a period of 30 days. And the posting will be in all of the inboxes of all employees that have email and posted in all workplaces. The second part of this will come at some point, probably June, which is the market compensation component, where the consultant looks at each of our positions from a market perspective. So that will come in June, and council will have that to consider as well. But the first step in the process, of course, is to make sure that we're compliant with the legislation.
Okay, now I notice also in this report, it indicates that in addition, revised and updated job descriptions were created and approved for all positions as part of the process. And staff have reviewed those job descriptions. And so everybody's okay with what was written. Okay, that's another good thing. Thank you.
So the job descriptions are part of what is done. The consultant also has affected employees complete what's called a job information questionnaire, which drills down into the heart of those 10 factors. So there are two parts to it, the job information questionnaire and the job description.
Okay, thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, be it resolved that council approve the pay equity plan prepared for the municipality by Harbor Human Resources, and further that staff be directed to post the pay equity plan in all workplaces, and further that council formally adopt the pay equity appeals process and the maintenance plan prepared by Harbor Human Resources. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the joint services with the County of Hastings provision for IT services? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on that? Seeing none, be it resolved that council advise the County of Hastings and municipalities' interest in entering into an agreement with the county for the provision of IT services commencing in 2026. And further, that staff be authorized to work with county staff to develop an IT infrastructure renewal and replacement program with a focus on immediate needs in 2026. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to community development. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the community development update, please? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on that report? I have, let me see, I have one thing. Oh, Rochelle, I had one question in regards to the Rock and the Trails event. Now, I know there's been ongoing discussions and you guys have been reading regularly to talk about the event in preparation for that event. One of the things that I noticed when you go to Tim Hortons, people with trucks and trailers with their ATVs on them are really quite large when you put it all together as a truck and a trailer. And we're expecting almost 1,000 people to come to this event. Has thought been given to where these trucks and trailers are going to be able to park? And because we're talking a significant influx of people into the community.
Thank you, Mayor. I know Cindy has been working with EOTA on this and Public Works and all the managers. I have not been part of that discussion. However, I have been updated. I know that there has been questions on where everyone is going to be parked, and I did have a discussion with staff from EOTA, and it is unknown really at this time as there's not a whole lot of parking space over there. But I know that the committee and the municipality is working with EOTA on those measures.
Do you have anything to add, CAO Pender?
No, and a big thanks to our Cindy Chow, and to Cindy Cassidy. They have been working together. There is a to-do list that's being circulated, and site planning and parking is part of that. And there will be another meeting probably before the end of April.
I'm just going to throw it out, and I've had no discussions on this or whatsoever, but if there might be the possibility, if we find that there's going to be quite an influx, because almost all of these will have a trailer coming into the community. If we maybe reached out to Casey Trudeau, and we have, okay, good, to use that as and people can, okay, good. Thank you very much. That's great. That's good news. Any other questions? Thank you very much. Let's see here. Be it resolved that council receive the community update as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the fire department update as of April 8th, 2025, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said report? It seems like you've been very busy, Derek. There was quite a list of activities there.
Yes.
Thank you very much for your service to the community and for those coming through our community. Thank you. Seeing none? Okay, great. Be it resolved that council receive the fire department update as presented. All in favor? Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Animal Control Officer Report, March 25th, 25, Animal Control and Livestock Investigation Report? Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on said report? Seeing none, be it resolved that council receive the March 2025 Animal Control and Livestock Investigation Report as presented. All in favor? Thank you. Committee and board reports. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the zoning amendment public meeting ZA 4/25, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor Marsh. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on that amendment? Seeing none, be it resolved that council receive the zoning amendment public meeting report as presented, and further that council directs staff to bring forward a bylaw for zoning amendment ZA 425 at the next regular council meeting. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to bylaws. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-28, a bylaw to regulate the setting of open fires and to provide for fees for contravention of the bylaw and costs of suppression? Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-28 be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-29, a bylaw to amend bylaw 2022-19, being a bylaw to impose administrative monetary penalties for violations of municipal bylaws? Moving to seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-29 be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-30, a bylaw to authorize the municipality of Marmor Lake to enter into an agreement to receive dedicated gas tax funds from the province of Ontario Ministry of Transportation on behalf of the municipality of Tweed as the host municipality of the Central Hastings Public Transit System? Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-30 be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-31, a bylaw to authorize civil marriage solemnization services in the province of Ontario and to repeal bylaw 2011-18? Thank you. Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-31 be read a first, second, and third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-32, a bylaw to authorize the municipality of Tweed to enter into a development agreement with 2530397 Ontario Inc. Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-32 be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-33, a bylaw to amend comprehensive zoning bylaw number 2012-30 as amended for property on Irvin Road? A mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-33 be read a first, second, third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. And finally, could I have a mover and a seconder to table bylaw number 2025-34, a bylaw to exempt a portion of land from the part lot control provisions of the Planning Act? Mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Fleeler. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any questions on said bylaw? Seeing none, be it resolved that bylaw number 2025-34 be read a first, second, and third, and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Thank you. Items for consideration. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table the Tweeds Lion Club's request permission of council to use the ball diamond and soccer field area at Tweed Memorial Park on Sunday afternoons from July 6th to April 24th, 2025 for an artist market. This market would complement the music in the park concerts. Is there a mover and a seconder, please? Thank you, Councillor Fleer. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Any questions on said bylaw? Not bylaw, request, sorry. Seeing none, be it resolved that council approve the request for the Tweed Lions Club to use the ball diamond / soccer field area at Tweed Memorial Park on Sunday afternoons from the July 6th to August 24th for an artist market in conjunction with music in the park. All in favor? Could I have a mover and a seconder to table a request from Brian Volkman of Moores Road, request for compensation for expenses due to damages to his vehicle caused by potholes? A mover and a seconder, please. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Palmetier. Does anybody have any questions on that? It was fully described in the report. Seeing none. Be it resolved that council receive the request from Brian Volkman for compensation of expenses due to damage of his vehicle, and further that Mr. Volkman be directed to submit his claim for expenses to his insurer. In the event that his claim is denied, he is invited to return to council for further deliberation. All in favor? Thank you. Moving on to correspondence. Could I have a mover and a seconder to table correspondence information, please? Thank you, Deputy Mayor DeMarche. Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Is there, well, first of all, I just wanted to mention that Enbridge is now going to be conducting its marketing campaign to start hooking up people to natural gas. And I was talking with Liz Dispolo or whatever, I can't remember her last name. But anyway, she is saying that they are hoping to be having connections starting this fall. Okay, so they've been laying that infrastructure and they're just getting the final approvals. So they're starting the marketing campaign to see people who are interested.
Sure.
Yes.
There's other areas in the municipality could benefit from natural gas. Does she indicate anything further coming down the line in the future?
Oh, in the future, definitely, they had indicated that they would look at our development plans and whatnot, and we gave them our development plans at the time, and so they're looking at doing all of that. What we're looking at developing right now, the lines will be easily extended. So as things do come online, yes, they are. County of Hastings. Okay, as everybody knows, I've tabled the information on the County of Hastings budget last meeting, and the County of Hastings is looking at a budget of I believe it's 4.67%. So we will be looking at the impact of that shortly. There's also a letter from Bright Beginnings, which I think we should look at, and this is the daycare center that's looking to establish themselves at the Tunalite Hall, and one of the conditions requirements was to upgrade the septic system, and they're prepared to do all of that, but there seems to be a delay in the plans. So has there been any update on that? Can anybody provide us with any update?
Thank you, Your Worship. Lucas and I both went to the site 2 weeks ago to look at it. The area behind the hall is too small to accommodate the size of the field, septic field that's going to be required. The contractor that's looking at that has made some suggestions, and including limiting the capacity of the building to limit the size, or potentially using a tertiary system, which will cost more but be able to fit within that. So we're going to have to get some pricing on that, bring it back to council, and likely meet with the daycare group to make a decision as to what direction to go. But at this point, simply put, there just isn't enough room to accommodate a field that would accommodate the daycare in that location.
Even though we own the land if you're looking directly at it, to the left, going down into that area it's still, we can't.
Still, it won't be able to make it fit.
Okay, any questions? Okay, I see we have one request for a City of Peterborough, and it's in regards to the tariff motion. I think we have been supporting these particular motions, so I would recommend that we do so again. Agenda was just updated. Oh, okay, I'm updating my agenda. Okay. And then I wanted to bring attention to, as I mentioned last meeting, Council has the two proposals to Premier Ford, one on supporting small rural developers and another on repatriating OPP costs during this period of crisis. And also we sent letters to each of the leaders of the opposition, leader of the opposition and leaders of the parties, thanking them for their support over time with our issues. Also, I wanted to draw everybody's attention to 14.53, where Warren Mullen has sent a letter to Premier Ford identifying the fact that there's lack of infrastructure funding for small rural municipalities. When I talk about this and in my mayor's remarks and whatnot, I just hope people recognize that we are not the only one. Okay, all of our neighboring municipalities are in the same boat. Nobody's getting anything. And then we got to the point where we were talking about, okay, 50 cent dollars. The municipalities, some of us don't even have that 50% of 50 cent dollars. And so what we've been lobbying for is the government to rethink that funding formula when they're looking at small rural Ontario. County of Hastings. He also, Warden also sent a letter. I've referenced this as well in earlier mayor's remarks that our higher education colleges and universities are suffering greatly because of the lack of financial investments made into them by our provincial government. Also, due to the inability to raise tuitions, which have been rolled back to 2015, and then also the fact that foreign students have been cut back, and so it's had a severe impact on our education system. And I think that's pretty much it. I did want to add, just to show people that we do get updates from Hydro One, for example, in the storm that we just had. But unfortunately, the updates are very cryptic, but at least they are showing us and telling us that in the areas around how they're trying to address the situation. Are there any questions or comments? Yes, please go ahead.
Your Worship, I was made aware of a ice storm 25 recovery grant through the Ontario Hydro yesterday. I think
You've sent it to Rochelle, yes, and myself. So I think we'll definitely look into that. So
Okay,
thank you
good.
very much for bringing that forward.
Okay.
Yeah. It's $10,000, I think is what is available. So yes, we'll definitely look into that. So thank you.
And that's for municipalities only. It's not for local residents.
That's right. And I've asked Ryan and to keep track of all of our costs in regards to the overtime that we had to put in, the fuel that we had to use, the opening up the waste site, which I will add again is we've opened up our waste site to accommodate brush and debris from the ice storm. It's free of charge. We will be probably looking at putting a moratorium on that as when that will stop, but we'll leave it open for at least to the next council meeting and then we can decide. So these are all costs that we incur so that, I'm sure we'll have our 10,000. So thank you very much for bringing that to our attention.
Okay.
Any other questions or comments on any of the items that discussed? Seeing none, let's go back up here. Be it resolved that correspondence information be received and filed as discussed. Okay, other than the letter of support for Peterborough. Okay, could I have a mover and a seconder? Okay, thank you very much, Councillor Valiquette, and thank you, Councillor Fleeler, just to support the motion of presented by the Peterborough Council. All in favor? Thank you. Okay, now we're going to move into our closed meeting. Could I have a mover and a seconder to do so, please? Thank you, Councillor Valiquette. Thank you, Councillor Parmentier. Be it resolved that Council go into a closed meeting at, Laurie? 9:55. All in favor? Whoa, that is a record.
And I was here for.
I know. Right. I'm sure there's nobody out there anyway.
Thank you, Your Worship. So on Saturday, April 5th, approximately 4 p.m., it was discovered that the motors in our dry well become submerged due to a failure of our sump pump. These motors are responsible for pumping wastewater from the River Street treatment plant to the lagoons. It is critical that the motors remain dry and not exposed to moisture. The initial response, the recommended course of action that night was to repair the sump pump and use an auxiliary as the backup pump in case it failed again. A heater was then installed within the dry well to help remove moisture from the motors before attempting to restart them. This approach was taken to minimize damage and allow for a safe attempt to bring the system back online. Follow-up action. On Monday, it was determined that the motors would need to be removed from the dry well. In addition, Aqua would need to install the replacement motors while sending the other ones out to be baked at a facility, I believe in Kingston. Current status at this time, the backup motor is operational and is effectively relieving pressure on the system, which has enabled residents to use their sewers again and have no problems with flushing, anything like that. Aqua is looking into make a permanent repair to the sump pump and prevent any failures in the future. Next steps are going to be, I'll provide an update once we know the status of our motors, and we'll go from there.
Thank you very much. Any questions? Seeing none, could I have a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, please? Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Thank you, Councilor Valiquette. Be it resolved that confirmatory bylaw number 2025-35 be read a first, second, and third and final time, passed, signed, and sealed in open council this 8th day of April 2025. All in favor? Could I have a mover and a seconder to adjourn today's meeting? Thank you, Councilor Palmetier. Thank you, Deputy Mayor Demarche. Be it resolved that council adjourn at, Laurie, 12:09. All in favor? Thank you. Thank you, everyone.